testa solo, Tevez all'interno dell'area, fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Buongiorno Bianconeri, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. All right, so we got a lot to discuss. Obviously, everybody is hearing the rumblings in the news about the Prisma case and it potentially being reopened or a point penalty coming to Juventus. We're going to take a look at that and all the other news surrounding Juve. And of course, we're going to recap the Coppa Italia match between ourselves and Monza and the 2-1 victory, and Chiesa, our boy, getting the job done for Juve. So we're going to take a look at everything. I got Omer, I got Luca. Luca, good morning. Omer, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Are you guys ready for all this?
Yeah, always.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Let's get to some of the comments first. We'll say what's up to everybody in the live chat. And I want to remind everybody, too, that today we have a big announcement coming later on in the show that everybody's going to want to make sure they catch, because it's going to give you guys a pretty awesome opportunity coming up next week. So we'll talk about that. Dell's coming in here to say, would you say Chiesa's on the level of people like Salah, Mane, Vinicius, Son, Mbappe, or would you say he's a stepple? This is a great question, and we're going to take that. So I'm going to actually just flag it, Dells, and we'll get into it a little bit later on the show, but that's a great one to kick things off. Bob Yogasal, as always, Forza AJC, Forza Juve. We've got everybody kind of getting into that question from Dells, but we'll see. Jeremiah, guys, I'll take the win. Fagioli and especially Illing Jr. were good, but we sat back again after the first goal. We'll be punished if we give the same initiative to Atalanta. Well, we'll talk about this game in full and all our thoughts, but I don't know if I necessarily saw it that way, to be honest. Michael Raz was saying Juve need to keep the foot on the gas. Enough just play out games and hoping to counter. I want to see football be played. Forza Juve. All right. Let's get into some of the stuff here. We're gonna kick things off with the news. Some of the topics, obviously one of the main topics, which of course is going to be this Prisma case, we'll probably dive back in later on the pod, okay? But as far as injury status goes for the news, we're expecting nobody back now for Atalanta. They said there's obviously the possibility that nobody comes back, and even Rabiot, who's facing a little bit of fatigue, might not apparently be ready for Atalanta. So Quadrado's basically day-to-day. So that's why this is kind of happening. He's very, very close, but again, right now, as it seems, it's going to be after that, which would take us to the following weekend against Monza in Serie A. Okay, so we knew we were going to play Monza twice this month. The next one is the Serie A matchup. So that might be the one where we get Vlahovic, Quadrado, even Bonucci and whatnot all back. We have a good break, a 1-week break after this match against Atalanta, but nobody's expected back right now. As far as the big news, we have another rumor. Of course, Juve's linked and whatnot, but so is Tottenham. Apparently, full breakdown for Zaniolo, okay, between he and Roma. No contract extension going to happen, no renewal. We've heard for a while all these reports of other teams, him looking at other teams in Italy, whatnot. Now all of a sudden, Tottenham in the mix. All I'm going to ask you guys a question is, if it is a full breakdown and Juve has a stab, do you want them to bring in Zaniolo in the summer?
No, too much money.
Yeah, even at 40 mil now, which is the rumored amount, too much.
Yeah, and we can't compete. We can't go into a bidding war with Tottenham or anyone else on the Premier League.
There's no way.
Well, no, let's take the money aside. Let's just say he wants Juve and his will's kind of feeling it. Would you want him as a player, as a profile at Juventus?
I don't think so. I was high on him like a year ago, maybe, but he sort of dipped. I see a lot of fragile mentality in him and not a lot to offer. I mean, even Roma fans are disappointed with him, and they were defending him like he's the next Totti or De Rossi. So,
but that's just it. The Roma fans never wanted him to go. They never wanted him to go. It's now, all of a sudden, when there's like this total breakdown, oh yeah, he can go or whatever. His performances, they're not quite there, but I don't necessarily, like, for me, I'm not sold on just brushing him aside. I actually, and if I look at Juve, one thing I find funny about this Juventus is we had a number 10, a true number 10, okay, for all this time, and we went 4-3-3. We could never figure out anything around him. Right now, a number 10, a true number 10, would be ideal for this Juventus, because right now we'll get into player profiles, performances in this game one up, but man, I can't help but think if we had a true number 10 again, this is the formation set up for it. But regardless, Zaniolo offers you a guy that can play. He's played false nine too, whatever, but he can play anywhere across the top and whatnot. His versatility is good. When he's on, he's ridiculous. The reason why he's not on, that could also be what's been going on there, especially now if all of a sudden you're getting a full breakdown. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not saying anything, but it's funny because Roma fans literally just turned on him when it seems like there's no renewal there. They were telling Juventini, who wanted Zaniolo to come, F off, F you, whatever, you can't have him. Like, we love him and everything. I get it why people are not sold on him because of the performances and whatnot, and of course the injuries and whatnot. But if his will took over and the price was reasonable, I wouldn't probably shy away from it, if I'm being honest. That's just me. But is it something to chase, go crazy for? I don't think so.
It's not. It's not a hard no, like no way. But let's not forget he had 2 ACL injuries at a very young age. Like it should decrease his price possibly, but it's not a hard no.
Yeah.
Like if there's a nice deal there, we can think about it.
Yeah, I think so. If it's a good deal and whatnot, I don't know why you wouldn't if it's a good deal. Price, if the price gets out of hand, bidding war, like you said, obviously, no, we're not into that and whatnot. But if the will takes over and we can make a decent purchase, why not? 50, Jeremiah would even go as high as 50 million. So I don't think I'd go that high, but I'm not sold on this guy just being all out and done. I think it's been a little weird for him at Roma. There's been way too much discussion about these renewals and whatnot. And is this the first time you've seen a player take a dip in performances when renewal talk is coming around? Not necessarily. That can happen quite easily. But anyways, let's get to the big news. Prisma case. So not decided. Apparently, we were supposed to get the decision today if it was going to be reopened. It is not been decided as of yet. Okay. What they are looking for, obviously, are the bans of those board members at the time that were involved, right? And I'm going to pull up the report. You guys have been doing great with the news, but Agnelli, 16 months ban is what they're looking for. Paratici, 20 months. Cherubini, 10 months. Arrivabene, Nedved, and Garimberti, 16 months. Now, it's worth noting that the other clubs involved are only facing a fine. Juventus is also apparently facing a point deduction. Right now, they've said that the prosecutors are aiming for 9-point deduction. Should that point deduction come into play, that would take us down to 28 points and essentially 9 points out of a top 4 position. So, guys, what are your thoughts here right now with this whole thing?
So much going through my head. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, what's the rush? What's to be gained out of it for the Turin's prosecutor's office? I mean,
like, remind me,
it's
Omar,
ridiculous.
You've been following the news. This case was closed down twice, right? This is the 3rd time it's being appealed.
Yeah.
What?
Your birds are going nuts.
The birds are back. It's a different one though. What I don't comprehend, and this is where, like, forget everything else aside, like the 9 points, forget that for a minute. Why is this coming back a 3rd time? Like, how many times can you beat a dead horse? I don't understand the focus on this case. We've seen other things with greater stature handled, like properly. This, where it's absolutely no effect to the performance of this team at the moment. Like it doesn't, it's not going to affect us. So why is it being pushed and shoved down their throats for a third time? Like, okay, I get it. There was some issues there, some shadiness. Deal with it behind closed doors. Figure it out. Why is it being rushed for the third time, middle of the season? I don't like Tony said this morning. They have nothing better to do. Nothing better to do.
It
I
is and
have
always
no
will
answer.
be Juventus against the world. I say this all the time on the show. Dells, he gets it. It's Juve against the world. These guys have pushed and pushed and pushed. It's already been kicked out twice, 3 times if you count the very initial. Now, they've set a precedent, and that's got to remain strong. The other thing here is, if we get into this, FIGC and protection of its big clubs. We spoke yesterday in pretty decent length about the work the other leagues have to do to catch the Premier League and whatnot and everything like that. If you have a situation like this, and it's already been kicked out this many times, the league has got to step in and help. This is my opinion. The bigger clubs in Italy, like the FIGC, should be stepping in and taking a look at this whole thing and saying, okay, we keep hearing about in these little media reports here and there, the parameters to register for Serie A. There are literally none unless you are bankrupt. There are no parameters. It's not, they have no salary cap. They have there is nothing. I have asked everybody. Okay, I've asked Mirko Di Natale. I've put out there with all of the big dogs. Nobody has responded because I believe nobody actually knows. Like what are these parameters that they talk about? There's never put anything forth. Gravina, the head of FIGC, said a month ago that regardless of everything that they were being charged with and faced with, that their registration was never in doubt and not in question, dating back to those years where they started this investigation. So I'm not so sure why all of a sudden it's going back into this well, and they're looking at point deduction again, and they're talking about Serie A registration when Gravina himself said it has nothing to do with registration. So it's crazy to me how it can continue to just go in this circle, and they just continue to push and push and push. I have said this many times, and I'm going to leave it at this. Juventus needs full throttle pushback, okay? Full throttle pushback. That's it. This is absolutely ridiculous now. And again, the basis of this whole thing is what you can't sell a player for. But beyond that, what it really comes down to is the paperwork not lining up, apparently. And we still have to wait on that final verdict if they are going to reopen this case. We're going to keep tabs on this throughout the show as well. But it's ridiculous at this point. If you ask me, Luca, same thing. Omer?
Yeah, we're befuddled because it doesn't make any sense. We have no answers because there is none. No one knows that the prosecutor's office haven't commented anything to the media.
Nothing.
They just keep pushing the case.
Yeah.
Like there are no answers to anyone. Like Al said, we asked all the journalists. No one had a clear answer. No one had any answer at all to why this is keep being discussed.
Like I think Lou had brought up in our chat this morning, and people have been mentioning it. If you look at La Liga, which I mean, how many times have we saw Barcelona or Madrid in some hole or some issue, and they just like sweep it under the rug as if like, okay, these are our top teams. We're gonna try our best to defend them. Where is this with Italy? Everything is backwards here. I've seen some issues occur that like in Italy are just ignored completely and like, oh yeah, no, it was clearly our fault, but we're not going to do anything about it. But for this, I don't understand the focus on trying to just fault Juventus and the discrepancy with the other clubs. If the other clubs are equally guilty, why are they getting just a fine?
Because it's a witch hunt.
Like the discrepancy there is unclear, and then it's even more insulting when this is a financial issue, our assets or whatever, our expenses, something didn't line up on our balance sheet. I get that. Why is a sporting answer, like a consequence, the answer to this? The last time we were deducted points, guys, it was because we did something that benefited us on the field. This is not benefiting us on the field. So why deduct points? Make it a financial, hit on the wrist. Take away some fine or something. I get that, but points.
I will say this too.
No correlation.
Allegations back in 2006 that we were found clear of with no fault. I just want to be clear on
I'm
that.
I'm not going to go back into. I don't want to. I'm just saying.
But that was a joke. This has, to Luca's point, even less of an effect on the sporting side of things because it literally affects nothing. Again, what are the parameters for registry in Serie A? Currently, nothing. So unless you're bankrupt, whatnot, it's literally, we're talking about paperwork. And even so, like, how could you rule out human error in when we're just talking about, they're talking about falsified documentation, but Juve's defense could be, hey, that person's no longer here. Human error does take place. Calculation errors. Like, it's hilarious to see it go to a sporting level where you're going to deduct points for this paperwork and this documentation when it has zero bearing on Serie A.
Yeah.
Has absolutely no bearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Oh, you wouldn't have been able to afford those players. What are you talking about? We've been running in the negatives financially for years beyond that. We're talking since, like, what, 2017?
Everyone, by the way, not only Juve. And the
everyone now. But for us, we've been running in that negative for, like, COVID made it astronomical. But we've been running in the negative since 16, 17. 17 for sure. Like somewhere around there. It has no bearing. To Faraz's point here too, Lotito, De Laurentiis, I mean, even talking about taking from Juve's pie in Italy and whatnot. These guys know the president is being set for something absolutely ridiculous. So it's going to be
already been set. It's like we've seen the ramifications of eliminating Juve from any competitions, and God knows where Serie A would be without Juve in the past decade, which happened by its own doing. Like, no one is at fault for it except Serie A, the prosecutor's office, and even the Italy's Minister of Justice said that it's nothing uncommon. All teams do it. It's just a regular practice. But somehow I'm just stunned that it's the specific Turin's prosecutor's office that's after it. I just don't get what's to be gained here for them.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to keep tabs on this. We're going to probably get back into this a little bit later in the show if, of course, it comes up. But we did have a match yesterday in the Coppa Italia, and we're going to talk about that one.
Can I add, like, just a wrapping thought here?
Yeah, go ahead.
One, if this doesn't work out a third time, an appeal, and, like, this just dies, receipts are saved. Like, I don't care what other fans are saying, receipts are saved. Secondly, if they have the time, the patience, and the money to look into this, I want those 2 points back from Salerno game. That Salernitana game, I want those 2 points back. So if they deduct 9 points, I want 2 back. So it's -7. Screw your -9. Idiots.
Yeah. And the live chat seems to be fully on board with us, and the same feelings of this constant struggle for Juventus with amongst its own in Serie A and whatnot. And, you know, it's beyond ridiculous. And it's one of the reasons I can't help but say, like, it's got to be one of the main reasons Agnelli has been looking for a while for an alternative and pushed so hard for Super League and whatnot, is because this is what happens in our own backyard. So
No wonder it went
FIGC,
south.
there.
The
Okay.
fight.
Now, we had a match yesterday, okay? Coppa Italia match against Monza. We saw heavy rotation in the lineup. We're going to tackle this one, and there's a lot to talk about on the flip side of it. We're going to get to the great comment and question out of the gate that we had from Dells, and even YFG had a great discussion point that we're going to talk about that involves the youngsters. Rovella wasn't fit enough to start that game yesterday for Monza, but he asks a question, kind of makes a point about Rovella and Fagioli and whatnot. So we'll get to that one as well. All right. So the starting lineup that we had was as expected. Okay. So you had Perin in goal. We ended up with Gatti, Rugani, and Danilo as your three center backs. You had McKennie as your right wing back. Miretti, Paredes, Fagioli in the middle, Illing Jr. as your left wing back, with Sule supporting Keane up top. Okay, we talked about this in full yesterday on the Matchday Live as far as lineups go. We all, kind of made sense of it. Said it was fine. I don't think anybody had too many issues with it. My biggest thing was separate the guys from that Napoli match and see if this team could light a spark and see what could happen in these young guys. It's Coppa Italia, get them the minutes going and whatnot. Man, start of this game, two things I can just say right off the bat that stood out was the energy and the pace and the tempo that these guys were moving the ball in. And a big part of that was definitely Fagioli and Sule in terms of how quick they were moving the ball. 5 minutes in, Illing Jr. absolutely roasts his defender there. And his cross was poor, must be said. It was mishandled by the defender, should have been easily handled. Nonetheless, it falls to Fagioli, who volleys this thing. He's going to want it back. He's going to be thinking about that one until Atalanta. But, man, unfortunately, goes wide. Should have buried that one. He knows it too. But a good positive start. And like I said, the energy, the tempo, and the pace, everything was great. 8 minutes in, and a beautiful team move, okay, involving Paredes, Fagioli, Sule, who then finds McKennie, and McKennie puts in a great header. Keane, my God, his man completely lost him, and a great header, my God. Even if Cranio was on that thing, you're never getting to that thing. Keane tucks it in right inside the post when he's got wide open cage there. 1-0 Juve, and a fantastic start. Now,
and I want to point out that was the first time in a long while I saw a goal that happened through team play, movement, good positioning, and not based on just individual brilliance.
It started literally just ahead of our defense with Paredes. And that quick exchange in tight between Fagioli and Sule, it looks like nothing, and it doesn't look like a big deal, but when you look at the other players, and this is why, like, we're going to talk about our midfield, we're going to talk about the young guys, but that play doesn't happen if McKennie's in that center midfield role. That play doesn't happen if Rabiot's in that role. That play doesn't happen if these particular guys, they bring something different. And for us, it's all about finding the balance.
They bring chemistry, but they also bring that
they look like
fear, but they're young. They they're willing to try these things that the old guys are like you're never gonna see a Khedira do a pass like that back in the day. Like, it was never happening.
It's flair. We need our flair guys.
Flair is the perfect word.
You need some flair in there. Sometimes we've been, over the past years, we can think about it. We can name those midfields that we've seen that are just straight across the board the same type of player, and that hurts you, especially in the midfield. But great exchange there. Juve, like I said, great energy from the start. 24th minute. Now, everybody's going to talk about us kind of falling back. I didn't really feel like we fell backwards in this game.
Just couldn't hold
I
the
didn't
ball.
I didn't feel that way. Did you guys feel like we all of a sudden were accepting pressure and whatnot? I didn't feel that way watching.
Yeah, yeah,
You
I
did.
felt like it a bit.
It
Yeah,
wasn't like get into our shell like usual. Like we still got the ball, but I feel like we couldn't hold on to it. Like we were just wasting
I
Yeah.
think.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I put it
I-
more to certain decisions in possession and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we were starting to be cheap on the ball, but I didn't feel like we were like, okay, we're gonna lock things down like we normally do. I think it was like a consequence of our
Yeah.
poor execution, really, on the ball. That's how I kind of felt. I didn't feel like we planned on, okay, we're just gonna sit back.
yeah. I mean, like controlling the play is one thing, and attacking while controlling the play is the other thing. I felt like Monza had the upper hand in midfield, and they dictated the play, and we reacted,
Yep.
which is something we normally do. I think the possession split was 60-40 for Monza at halftime, and just this is a bit frustrating. Just we can control them. We can hold the ball. We have good midfielders. It doesn't seem like a player issue, more like a tactical issue that just keeps repeating itself game after game. But nevertheless, it was better than some of the games we've seen this year.
Yeah.
So in the first half, it ended with 55% possession for Monza. So kind of up there, but 6 total attempts for Juve, 2 shots on target, only 2 attempts total for Monza in that first half. I felt they were relatively toothless overall. If we
I
look at
didn't
the
feel
whole game
threatened.
as a whole, they finished 3 attempts on target. Remember Anthony's prediction there
Oh,
of
boy. That's in the first half.
wow.
Right?
No, that's total.
No
3
way.
attempts on target total for Monza, and Anthony called that. Don't let him know though. But
Yeah,
a big
nobody's bringing it
chances,
up.
one big chance it created the whole match for Monza. Listen, 24-minute set piece. This was frustrating, but we talk about nobody marking and whatnot. You could see nobody was on him from the start. It looked like we zoned up on that set piece, and
That
yeah,
defensively, looking at that replay, it wasn't like no one was in the right spot. It's just that everyone stood rather than one like following. That was zonal,
yeah, it just looked
and
like we literally wanted to
yeah.
zone up on that
Yeah.
one rather
Yeah.
than get tight in man mark because nobody was on him tight from the beginning. And Velotti
Yeah.
finds a spot. Hell of a header. Perrin,
header.
very difficult one to try and get. Doesn't get it. It's 1-1. Now, Juve still finishes with some decent sequences and whatnot, but again, I was left at halftime because you have the 33rd minute, a counter from us, and again, this is what'll tie into my thoughts at halftime, how I was feeling. But you have a counter from us, and Moretti finds Illing Jr. Illing Jr. cuts inside on his man. Now he's on his off foot, but Fagioli is all alone
Wide
at the
open.
top of the area
Yeah.
on his strong foot. Illing Jr., I was shouting for the pass in before he even cut in, before he makes that cut, because
Yeah.
then he's starting to bring the defenders. He's bringing his man inside, and the space becomes less and less for Fagioli as they get closer to goal. Illing Jr. ended up making his cut. He tried an off-foot shot. Fagioli was letting him know where he was at and the space that was available to him. And a higher percentage shot probably for Fagioli there, and he's on his strong foot. I'm not going to fault Illing Jr., but it comes down to decisions in the final third. And this is not something that I'm ragging on the young guys with, because this is something we've seen all our
we bring
players
it up all the
fall
time.
victim to, and that's in the final third, making decisions. And a lot of these decisions make or break potential opportunities, rebounds, shots on target. Like, you come out of it with a rather weak shot that Cradnio always had covered. Who knows what Fagioli might have done? It's a higher percentage, that's for sure, from where he's at. But this is just one example of you could take many decisions in that first half. Halftime, for me, that's all it came down to. Outside of Chiesa and Di Maria in the final third, I think our decision-making suffers tremendously. Illing Jr., not to rag on him, because overall, I'll talk about Illing Jr. at the end of the recap, but I'm happy with him. He also fell victim to trying to cross the ball in, like just for the sake of crossing it in a couple times, and nobody set up or in position. And we saw Kostic do that against Napoli. We didn't even have anyone in the area at the time, and he even looked up and rifles it in there. It's like there's nobody there. So a little bit of structure could go a long way there, but ultimately for me, I was happy overall in the first half. But I think our decision-making needs to ramp up. And outside of Chiesa and Di Maria, I really see this team suffer when it comes to being cheap on the ball and the decisions they make when it comes into the crucial moments in the final third. How did you guys feel at halftime?
Omer?
Hard to disagree. I think the team looked just just untrained in, counter-attacking. Like when I watch Real Madrid play or Arsenal, like everyone knows where everyone is going and where to run if that guy's on the right and this guy goes on from the left, and the guy with the ball knows you have players on both sides, and it just looks like organized. In Juve, when they do it, it looks like it's just coincidental, like hoping for someone to join. So it's something they need to work on, and it doesn't look like they are working on it. It's not a recent problem. It's been a problem for 2-3 years now.
2-year problem.
It's been the case with Morata as well, and Rabiot with bad decision making all over. But the game overall felt fine. Like I didn't feel threatened at any time. The goal we conceded was just unfortunate. I mean, McKennie was guarding the near post, just mistimed his jump and missed the ball. It happens. Like it's not the end of the world. If he makes it, then they have absolutely zero chances all game long. So it wasn't too bad. Just unfortunate. It happens. Like the corner came out of nothing. It was across.
Yeah.
So I went into the second half pretty confident, but also like I can't believe we're doing it again. Like one time I want us to close the game before halftime and be like lay back and just relax and not having to check my pulse until the 80th minute till someone does something.
Yeah, we'll see. Luca, halftime.
You guys wrapped up the attacking aspect of it, and I think my only addition to that is what you said out about Illing doing basically what Kostic has been doing is forcing that cross. It's got to make you question whether that's a tactic or a strategy that's been demanded of them, because they both do it. They both try to burn their man and then automatically put it in. It doesn't matter how, where, and when. Kostic has a left foot on him. We've seen him, put some decent balls, but sometimes people are just ragging on him for just throwing it in there. I think it's honestly asked of them. It really seems like it is.
I think Illing Jr.'s a little more willing to take his man and go a little further with it and maybe get a shot 100%. Off or whatnot. I think Kostic is too quick to cross more often than not. If I had to talk about the two of them.
And I agree 100%.
But, I kind of get what you're saying. I mean, it goes back to everything, really. The decision-making, all this.
Yeah.
Lack of structure probably in attack, too much freedom. There's a lot of ways people can look at it or whatnot, but it needs to change because this team, we're just not a high-scoring team. But we take a lot of potential good opportunities away from ourselves.
Yeah, we can be. That's the thing.
What's that, Omer?
We can be. That's the thing.
Go back to
we can have 3-4 goals each game with chances or just poor passes that should have been handled differently.
The potential is that. You go back 2 years.
Yeah.
Go look at Pirlo's season. I know this is far back, but I watched that season. I look at whether it's the All or Nothing series or even just highlights. The amount of goals and opportunities that we put in between Ronaldo, Dybala, Morata, Chiesa, it was impressive. The high amount of chances was not the issue when Pirlo left. It was the defensive side of things, our issue. And, Max came in, and you could argue he's fixed that, but our attacking volume, not even the finishing, the volume of chances has just dropped incrementally. That's the frustration.
Yeah. We got to keep it rolling. So I'm going to get to the second half. Luckily for us, the second half will be quick to recap because it was pretty drab. I thought the energy level was outside of the 48th minute when Danilo sends Keane free and clear in there on a beautiful through ball.
Great ball.
Keane is going to want that one back. Didn't end up finishing that one. Keane did find another goal called back for offside.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so, because some were arguing that the defender had played it and puts him on and whatnot. Omer doesn't feel so. So called off, no goal. We're going to get to, obviously, again, I said overall the energy, I wasn't feeling it. Wasn't quite there matching second half. We saw a lot of that in the first half of the season. It kind of flipped through the streak where we were stronger in the second half as opposed to the first. But nonetheless, the best chance, period, second half for Monza was a shot from distance from Colpani that still never threatened Perin. And then the 77th minute, after subbing on for a few minutes, Federico Chiesa doing what Federico Chiesa can do. I will say this because I continue to say this, and you guys are probably like, man, this guy is a broken record with it, but from the left side, he is a different beast altogether. I cannot stress that now. I don't care right wing back thing, right wing or whatever. He is a different animal from the left side, because when you have him on the right side and you force him to his weak side and you take away that flank that he can run down on his strong foot, you're forcing it into the rest of your team, but he's on his weak foot. He could still do it, and he still will do it, but it's not as effective as when if you're going to force him inside on his right foot, you're putting him on his strong foot. And then it doesn't really matter that you're pushing him into your teammates to try and direct him there, and more because he's on his strong foot and he's lethal. Whether he still cuts you and takes you on, and he's willing to still go left-footed. So that threat is still there. He is a different beast on the left side. That goal was unbelievable. He fought off the challenge, the clear foul. The guy should have got another card for, by the way, and a send-off, regardless of what the outcome was. And then the shot, that sound, okay, just boom, hitting that post, going in. The celly, everything about it was pure magic. Federico Chiesa doing what we need Federico Chiesa to do. Spectacular goal. We're going to wrap things up on that, obviously, as Juve sees it out 2-1. Your guys' thoughts on just Chiesa, the goal, and the match overall as we get to a ton of topics here.
The goal was something we just knew that Chiesa can provide that type of goal out of nowhere. He was basically stuck on the left, with a defender in front of him, and a few seconds later, the ball is inside the net. Not all the players can do that in this team. It's just his mentality, the way he plays is just phenomenal. There was one instance there that Milik sort of controlled the ball. It was going out of play, and he was signaling Chiesa, just leave it. But Chiesa came bursting, took the ball, gave it back to him, and then he suddenly played it to Di Maria, and he found himself one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Don't let the goal go out. Every other player on the team would have let the ball go out of play and throw in. Chiesa, no. Chiesa takes it and tries again. That's the mentality we were lacking for a long time.
Yeah.
And to that point, if you look at that goal, how many players do you know that go down on that challenge and not keep going? Like, you got to give it. Like, I'm watching that play, I'm thinking he's going down, and even if he misses, it's the advantage, we get the foul. He puts it in the back of the net, that changes everything. But that's the difference. His mentality really is far and above. Like, the only person I could think was a similar fight and desire is Locatelli, and I can't think of many others in the last 2-3 years where we've seen that. So props to him. I mean, especially after what he's gone through, that's incredible.
Yeah. Incredible. That's the difference between a lot of players that can separate them. Like, Juan Cuadrado, I've said so many times, like when he was at his heyday in beating guys 1v1, there was still so many times where I'm like yelling at him, like, don't go down there.
Yeah.
Don't go down there. Look at
Now,
what's ahead of you.
forget it.
That is instinct. That is pure instinct. And just knowing when is that time. That's a part of it too.
Yeah.
Knowing when the time is to, okay, I'm going to go down so that we get this, whatnot. And when you can have that vision that, okay, this guy's coming, but I'm going to be able to cut him and I'll probably get a strike.
Mhm.
That's next level stuff. That was big from Chiesa, and we
that's
need
what
that from him.
separates. Yeah, that's what separates the great ones from the mediocre ones.
My
Like
boys.
Messi can go to the ground every time the ball is in his feet. He's getting kicked. He chooses when
He chooses
to
to keep going.
go for the
Exactly.
foul and when to keep going and create another
Yeah,
chance.
good point. That's a very good point.
That's it
Yeah.
for the greats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, like you said, Al, it was a very stagnant second half. My only real, like, look, we played the second string. This looked like a performance of guys that aren't our first team, which, you know what, granted, it's understandable. Wasn't beyond expectation, but it wasn't under expectations. My only gripe with, at the end of the 90 minutes is we had to win this through individual brilliance again. And it's not maybe an insult to the younger guys, but I mean, we had the opportunities. Like this game could have been tucked away minutes ago, or at the beginning of the game when Fagioli misses that open net. My only frustration is that we should have put this game to bed earlier. And if this was a month ago and we didn't have Chiesa, it's a different story, and we might lose in penalty shots. So,
But I don't necessarily feel that way in this one, and the reason is like, yeah, it was a great individual effort that gave us the winning goal, but our team play didn't suffer from structure, coaching, or anything like that in this one. It was literally execution. It was literally execution.
That's my next point that we can discuss.
go for it.
Before the goal, like I think a minute or 2 minutes before the goal, Allegri takes out who was it? I don't
Landucci.
remember. Landucci. Sandro comes in, Fagioli comes out, Di Maria comes in. Suddenly, there's Danilo, Gatti, Rugani, Sandro, 4 at the back, 3 in the middle. Lucatelli as a Mezzala and not a Regista. Chiesa on the left, Di Maria on the right, Milik in the center, and suddenly it's a 4-3-3, unintentional 4-3-3.
Very much so.
So maybe that's the direction we're heading with everyone. Maybe it was a good time for it. We saw that it's effective, more effective than having the one shadow striker and one striker there, which Sula was actually good at. So that's my question.
We're gonna get to that for sure. We're gonna get to formation and is that what we need to do and whatnot. We're definitely gonna get to that. First, real quick, man of the match. Who did everybody have as man of the match? Everybody in the live, drop your man of the match. And who wants to kick us off on their man of the match? Do you give it to Chiesa for the game winner and breakthrough?
I'm going to go Keane. I really liked him yesterday. He was very much in his bubble in the sense that he didn't stand out, but he hustled, got us that first goal, and almost got us the second one. Sure, he was offside, but I think besides him missing that opportunity, he was one of the standout players yesterday. Chiesa, I mean, props, beautiful goal, but I think Keane, for the amount of time he was on, for what he did, that for me.
Animesh agreeing with you, Luca, and giving it to Moise Keane. Omer, who was your man of the match? We have a shout for Chiesa. We have a shout for Danilo as well.
Danilo, okay.
Yeah, I thought about Danilo too. Chiesa, I mean, it's hard for me to choose someone who came off the bench, usually.
It's a tough choice.
Unless he changed the game completely. I don't know. I want to give it to actually the 2 center backs. I want to give it to Rugani and Gatti. They did
very
well.
Quiet show yesterday, but they
Yeah,
did
both of them together. If they have a quiet night, it means they did their job perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why not give him a shout out? Even McKennie was fine. He got out of press a lot. He had 1 assist. He dribbled out of press. Not once, not twice. He did have a solid outing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Man of the match for me, I had Danilo in there. I had Keane in there. And, of course, I had Chiesa just for deciding it, regardless of coming off the bench and whatnot. But if I probably overall have to go to it, I probably am going to give it to, I'd say Danilo for me.
Very good game.
Somebody at the back. We were never threatened. I was never worried. We had a zone coverage issue on a corner. Otherwise, they really had absolutely nothing. So I give it to then Michael Raso throwing it at Landucci.
Yeah, give it to
So
Landucci. He did his job, and I mean, he doesn't have Allegri in his ear, so those subs, I guess, you could say they're pre-planned, but you can never plan that much. You don't know how the game's going to go.
shout out to Danilo. He's been in 80% of the man of the match discussions this season.
Yeah.
Damn, he's been consistent. This is what I try to preach week in, week out, because the guy has a lot of haters. Obviously, he's close to a 2-year extension, everybody. His current contract runs out in 2024. That'll take him to 2026. All right. But Danilo has been fantastic. A true embodiment of everything we want at Juve. And one of the comments when we were praising Chiesa, having that instinct, that desire, that drive, and being on another level, one of the comments was, only Chiesa and Danilo have that currently. Obviously, that's debatable if you want to throw maybe one or two others in there, but no doubt these guys are at the top. And Chiesa getting that first goal back, love it, love it. Let's get to the young players' performances in this one, okay? We're going to talk Gatti, Iling Jr., Sule, and Moretti. Who wants to kick us off on their thoughts? And again, we have so much to tackle. We want to get kind of brief on these, but who wants to kick us off on their thoughts on these particular players and their performances yesterday?
Yeah, why not? I already talked about Gatti. I think he had a solid outing. Fagioli quietly did his job and almost got a goal. Unfortunate, could have gotten another if Fielding had passed it to him. Miretti seems a bit lost a bit of confidence, maybe. I don't know, he seems more stressed in his decision making. He was more like fluent when he started playing. Iling was great, and nothing too flashy, but did create a couple of chances. And Sule was the one I was most impressed with. When these guys played together, what I felt was it looked like these guys have played together for a while, which they did. That's what we want from our Primavera, Next Gen, U23. We want these guys to come together to the senior team and look like they play together just like other teams do. And that's what we got yesterday. Those quick exchanges you mentioned, Al. It looked like something, players who know each other, know who makes which run and how to play fast. That comes with chemistry, which they brought in from the Next Gen where they all play together.
Yeah.
So that's my analysis.
And we're gonna get to Luca's, then mine. This is the number one reason. Number one, I'm old. Okay, YFG. Number two, 24 years old is young. 24 years old is still young. Sure, he's not 19. But
for a center back,
that's
basically 19 for a center
24
back.
For a center back is pretty damn young. That's pretty damn young.
Just to put it in perspective,
So,
and I'm here.
Luca, your thought on the youngsters? Anything to add amongst what Omer was saying?
I'm going to start with Gatti because I really think, again, we're on this topic. I think we've seen him only in a 3-man back, and he is not bad on the ball. I feel like he's not obviously Bonucci. He doesn't have that I think depth in his play. But I'm curious to see him how he would work out in a 2-man center back position. But I like him in that right role. I feel people hate on him, and you have to remember this is his first year in Serie A on the big stage, really making that leap. And if we're gonna stay with a 3-man back, I think he's got that potential to go up. He's not terrible. Like, he made one dash at one point, which wasn't, it wasn't incredible, but it wasn't terrible either. I feel in Italy especially, we put so much pressure on center backs to be the next, BBC, but that ain't happening anymore. So I think we need to take him with a grain of salt. And I didn't see any issues from Gatti, so I'm glad that he had a good showing. And that's more, and there's nothing more to comment because there was no negatives. Fagioli did his job. I think he should be in our starting lineup 100% next to Locatelli. Iling, again, great pace, maybe a little bit more time to work on that decision making, like you said, Al. I still think there's a lot of potential there. Miretti, I really think he's taking a bit of a fall. He's not. I think he's too good to be with the youth, but he's not quite there to be starting with us yet. I feel like he's like Omar said, his confidence is there. He'll go into a challenge, and instead of being smooth about it, he's clumsy and he loses the ball very easily. Saw that a few times yesterday, and it worried me because we saw better from him. Sule, for me, hands down, best of the best yesterday. It was honestly, I'll admit it. It was like watching Dybala in one of his best days because Sule was coming back, picking up the ball. He was breaking the line going forward. He was connecting with Keane. He was going to the wing. I saw great things from him, and honestly, that has to be his position from now on. I don't want to see him anywhere else. He offers so much there, and it's great because if we're gonna play Di Maria in that role, we have now a natural substitute for him, and I think it's very similar in what they provide. So I honestly was very impressed by Sule yesterday.
All right. That's good stuff. I'm kind of along the same lines there. So for me, Gatti, I have absolutely zero issues other than I think he needs to have more work on the press and handling that. His passes out from that pretty inaccurate, but there's overall much more good and positives out of his game than there is negatives. That's the only thing I really don't feel 100% comfortable with when he's on it being pressured at the back. Sometimes it does come down to decisions. He's got some other plays that could be made. He's keeping it safe. He's keeping it simple though, which is good, but sometimes it's just that execution because his clearances are pretty soft sometimes. And yesterday he was putting it to a guy that had acres of space ahead of him. That has other issues that I see in it, but Gatti overall, really good. I like it. Just needs to work on that playing out through pressure. Illing Jr., he needs more minutes, in my opinion. Number one, to give Kostic breaks and whatnot, but he is probably right there with Kostic if I'm being serious about watching the two play. I don't think there's a drop-off there whatsoever from what I've seen out of Illing Jr. so far, and it's not that big a size, but I just in my own personal feelings, I don't think there's any fear there to play him against strong opponents or whatnot. That's how I feel about Illing Jr. Sule, for me, Sule, he has to play in that particular role. And it's going to be hard for him with the other guys coming back to get minutes because he's just going to be down there on the pecking order. But I have no problem splitting up Chiesa and Di Maria and bringing one of those guys second half. Obviously, I'd probably choose Di Maria to bring in on a second half to allow Sule more minutes here and there and a starting role, especially if we're going to switch to a 4-3-3 and play him out on a wing. But he has to be advanced. He's kind of in that same rut if we play him as a wing back where you're not getting the best of his capabilities. But Sule is a very skilled technical player that has high potential. We've got to use him correctly. Miretti, I didn't have a big problem with him, but I thought it was a little off. And I think Miretti's maybe been a little bit off for a while. The flip between Fagioli and Miretti, and it's funny because at the start of the year, Miretti was looking really, really good. Like really, really good. And if you told me at the start of the season where we are now, he would only have like one assist, I would have said, no way. He's going to have more contributions there. That hasn't been falling. Okay. But the start of the year, I was always saying Fagioli's already had that role with Cremonese. He's had those minutes. He's like, if anybody's going to get the minutes and needs to be loaned out, I would go Miretti. Everybody fought me on it. Everybody was saying, no, Miretti this, Miretti that. Now here we are later in the season. I kind of think it's flipped. And maybe Miretti might benefit. It's not really pulling through for him, but I'm not worried about him because he's 19 years old. And I still think overall I see a lot of good things out of him. but I think there has been a bit of a dip there. Maybe it is those contributions not coming for him. But I do think there's some work there that need to be done. But again, he's a young guy. I'm not worried about overall. Fagioli, for me, he brings what we need in the middle of the pitch. Based on all the other guys available and what they bring, you need him in your midfield. You absolutely need him. And the nice thing about Miretti is that he can be one of those players as well.
Needed.
Obviously, when Pogba comes back into the fold, fingers crossed, eventually here, that changes things drastically. Now we get to 4-3-3. 4-3-3.
Wait, Omar's got something.
Wait, I have quick notes. One, Rabiot didn't play yesterday. News came out. He had a bit of a discomfort in his rectus femoris. So he's also questionable for Sunday's game. We'll keep you updated through our news. And the second one, before we progress any further, that Di Maria chance, because everyone is talking about and asking, do you like it or do you not? So just quick reaction from you guys. What do you think?
For me, it's just like I laughed because how little do you trust your off foot that you're going to try a Rabona there to get that goal? I just laughed because I'm like, man, that guy's got zero faith in his off foot. Because for me, if I'm playing and I have that chance, I take it with my off foot. And who knows where it's going to go? I don't even know where it's going to go when I hit it with my off foot.
You do what you did, you're breaking a hip, 100%. Like I watched it, it ain't happening.
Well, it was on target.
It was on target. Yeah, you got to get. I've seen him score like that. So
yeah,
personally,
if he would have buried it, it would have been something else.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That if he scores it, it's not like a Bonucci running out defense and shooting a ball from 40 yards out, and you're like, if that goes in, it's crazy. But it won't go in. How many times has
Tony got all flustered about it?
He doesn't. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
You want to bury the game, I get it. But at this point, it was I think the 92nd minute. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
like
I was laughing about it when it went down. But 4-3-3. We got to get to the 4-3-3 because everybody's talking about it.
Please.
For me, here's the thing. I'll be real simple with it. I have no problems in seeing it. We should at least entertain it. But I can't help but shake the fears that we lose balance, even with all these players coming back healthy, that I can't shake that feeling of what I saw earlier on in the season when you have a team that doesn't have a set structure offensively. Yes, you've got talented guys. They're going to be in more natural roles, but our fullback is weak. Our fullbacks is, I think, going to be an issue. If we were going to be 4-3-3 and trying that out, I would go with Danilo on the left side and Cuadrado on the right side. As a fullbacks, if we were going to even think about it and try it. What does this do for your center backs? Well, Bremer's going to be in there, no doubt. And then you've got your option between Gatti, Rugani, and Bonucci. And we've only seen Gatti in that 3 center back setup. I'm not worried about him going in a 2-man pairing. However, he's still being integrated in. Mm-hmm. Rugani has been reliable. Are you comfortable with Bremer and Rugani being your 2 center backs in big games, clutch moments? Hey, there's no harm in trying, and I'm all for trying it just so that we could see it once we have all our guys. If the plan is to get all our best players now that they're here out there and do it, let's see it. But if we start to suffer and we lose balance of play, I'm going to go back to wanting what's better for the overall group as opposed to some individuals. I said, if we are sticking with the 3-5-2, something's going to be sacrificed, and you're probably not going to be able to play the Vlahovic, Di Maria, Chiesa thing is going to have to go, and one of them's going to have to get sacrificed. I know who I would sacrifice, and I said it earlier. I go Di Maria off the bench. But what do you guys think? 4-3-3.
Yeah, so I think
these birds.
Better.
Dude.
Oh, come on, wait.
No, don't do it, please. Okay, good.
Okay.
We don't need that.
No, I just closed the window.
Okay, good.
what Al's saying is right. Like the problem with the fullbacks is a big problem for 4-3-3, but I still would like to try it because the 3-5-2 creates issues. It solves issues, but it also creates issues. The main one is the distance between our guys, and when they're so far apart from each other. We saw it against Napoli. Napoli play very close to each other, but when we're too far, when they take the ball, they have like tens of yards to run forward. Then when we try to get out of press, everyone is too far, and it ends up just kicking it upfield and hoping Milik or Vlahovic will just take care of it and hold it long enough. So our players are running a lot more than actually, staying close to each other. The 4-3-3 kind of solves it. Even when we want to press, then it's not like only Milik is pressing and the rest are just behind the halfway line. Suddenly you have three guys pressing and three guys supporting, and you can push further when you have 4-3-3. I think it's more suitable to the characters of the players we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And back when it worked perfectly, you had Dybala, Mandzukic, Morata. So three guys up front, it works. One striker, one shadow striker, it works. Right now, with the players we have, and we saw Chiesa on the left, and we know Di Maria is better out on the right, and we still have Illing and Kostic and Sule,
Yeah.
and we have guys to occupy those positions. A 3-5-2 is sometimes it works. We saw against Napoli that when a team presses high, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And we were under constant pressure for the entire game. So I would like to try 4-3-3, especially with everyone coming back. But let's wait and see when they come back. And Atalanta is a good chance to test it because they do play in 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. Good way to test it.
Yeah. So might as well say it. We've got Lazio next up in Coppa Italia after getting by Monza. Last time we faced Lazio was one of our better matches in quite some time. So the feeling should be good going into that one. But we'll see. We'll see. We should have a lot of bodies back for that one as well. The immediate future, obviously, like I mentioned, we're going to be facing Atalanta. Atalanta has potted 13 goals in their last two games. So they're firing right now. Obviously, one being against Salernitana, the other being against Spezia. But nonetheless, they're scoring goals and they're feeling it coming into this game. We're on the flip side, which is getting a result, squeaking through even against Monza, whatnot. We're not a high-scoring team. We played Napoli, who scores goals, and that's going to be on our guys' minds, no doubt, because now you're playing another team that is pretty strong offensively. So, again, it's going to be one of those questions, what gives? That's going to be a big one on this weekend. And, again, there's a lot of news surfacing around Juve. We're going to keep tabs on the investigation. We're going to keep tabs on everything. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one against Atalanta. We are going to do a match day live. I am going to do a live watch along, and then we're going to do the podcast on Monday for this big game against Atalanta. Now, we're going to get to Storm the Barn, okay? And real quick, you guys were a little nervous about, Monza and whatnot. Well, how do you feel about going into the Atalanta match now on the weekend?
Even more nervous.
Yeah.
Even more nervous.
Yeah, I said it yesterday. Atalanta in a one-off game, like you catch them on just a regular match in Serie A, and they can be like the best team in the league.
Yeah.
For one game, they can maintain it. Usually, that game, sometimes it's against us, sometimes it isn't. We've beaten them in the Coppa Italia final when they didn't look like themselves at all. But they do have a system that works, obviously, and if it works against us, if Allegri doesn't do his homework and just hopes everything ticks like it did against Napoli, which it didn't, then I am stressed. But their defense is weaker than Napoli's, and they do concede a lot of goals too, so we need to take our chances.
Yeah.
This is going to go back to the formation talk that you brought up, Al. For me, the 4-3-3 almost now feels necessary because going into Atalanta, which is a high-scoring team, albeit like you said, it's two teams that are a little bit lower in the standings. They're in hot form right now. They're putting a lot in the opponent's net. I don't think the 3-5-2 will stop that, and we saw that with Napoli. So with me, besides maybe our left back position or our right back, whichever it is that Danilo doesn't play in, that's the only weakness I see in a 4-3-3 right now. I'd rather we take the game to them rather than sit back in a 3-4-1-1 and hope that they don't score, because I don't have faith in it anymore. Like before the Napoli beat down, I had faith. Now we saw just how weak we could be in that formation defensively. Will Max do that? I don't think so. I think he's still going to be stubborn and put the 3-man back. But I think the 4-3-3 is probably the best against Atalanta, because they already deploy a similar formation. So we got to go with something opposite. You can't go like for like and expect something different.
I think I haven't lost faith necessarily in that Napoli performance because of just how bad everything was. Like I was saying, if we had, a decent showing and like still got just worked, it'd be different. But the fact that, Bremer had an absolute shocker, which is an anomaly from what we've seen just in his time here. And even last year, I mean, the guy won Serie A, defender of the season, whatnot. He's that's an anomaly, like to see him at that poor of a performance. Then you factor into the fact that we just didn't even pressure them whatsoever. No press. We started to see what was going to work good in the end of the first half, and then just didn't even bother to do it. I think we failed from a coaching level, from a player execution level, from just a base game plan level against Napoli. Like, we just got everything wrong. So I haven't necessarily lost faith. I just think that was it should have served as an eye-opener. And maybe the fact that even in that game, you started to see a shift formation-wise. Now with guys getting healthy, we may not have anybody come back for this Atalanta thing, but Chiesa's ready to start. Right? And maybe, just maybe, we come out against Atalanta and say, you know what? We're going to try and fight a little fire with fire, and we're going to set ourselves up with our best guys in their best natural positions and just see. So it'll be interesting. But, he's got some decisions to make. Everybody, now's the chance for Storm the Barn. Get your Storm the Barn questions. Everything that was put higher up, we're going to tackle right now. I'm going to remind you all, please like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, okay? And we do have a big announcement. Big announcement.
What is it, Bert?
I'm not going to make it right yet. So stick around a little bit longer. We're not done here. Now, Dels, would you say Chiesa is on the level of players like Salah, Mane, Vinicius, Son, Mbappe, or step below? A Man United fan told him that they're all clear, and he's curious to know what Juventini think. So, who wants to tackle this one first? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we should pump the brakes a bit, because like these guys mentioned here, except maybe for Vinicius, has been doing it for a long time, and consistency is the name of the game here. Like Son is 29, Salah is 30, Mane is 31, Mbappe is 22, 23, but he's been doing it since he's 18.
Yeah, take Mbappe out of that conversation.
Yeah, those guys have been like in their prime for a long time. Chiesa is still fairly young. He's been injured for a year. He's been with Juve for 2 years. One of them was not so successful, like, number-wise. And before that, Fiorentina prospect, but not, considered as one of the best in the world. So let's give him time. He can be like these guys and better, but he has a few more years to prove that he's up there for a long time. But talent-wise, yeah, he can be any one of those guys.
Yeah, I think that's summed up pretty good. I'll probably add a couple things. Luca, what do you got?
I think you can't have this conversation right now. I mean, the guy, he banged in a beautiful goal, but this is like just the start of his return. He's been gone a full year. If you look at him, let's say, post-Euro in that prime moment, he was arguably in that conversation and getting there, but he's still young. I mean, to put him in the same likes of Mbappe, that's I'm not gonna make that comparison just yet. I think it's too much pressure on the kid, too much now, especially after an injury. You take the injury out of the conversation, I think he could have had a great year or he could have had a terrible year. We don't know, but like Omar said, it's consistency, and he's coming back now. We can't have that conversation just yet. If he keeps this up, then we could start. But right now, it's too damn early.
For me, Mbappe obviously clear of all of them. I just wipe him off the slate. Vinicius, I'd also put right now above Chiesa. Son, Mane, and Salah. Well, Salah was like a 12-goal scorer in Serie A. He went to Prem, and all of a sudden it blew up in a Liverpool side that went off and went crazy. But Son even put into Chiesa, Mane put into Chiesa. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you think about those teams that those guys were on, and Salah and Mane particularly, I'm not so sure Chiesa is that far behind maybe some of those guys. He could definitely surpass them. Mbappe is a freak.
That's a freak of nature. Yeah, you can't have the same conversation.
Yeah, but it is too early to really talk about this with Chiesa, but make no mistake about it. As far as game breakers go, you can put him in the mix of game breakers worldwide in football, because Chiesa is already that and a game breaker. Is it going to be when those guys? And even Son, he kicked off and had, just recently had come up and gotten big and whatnot. But Chiesa's got a higher ceiling, I think, than Son, if we're being serious.
Let's wrap this up by saying this is a United fan who told you that they're all clear.
Yeah.
So that kind of just tells you.
Yeah,
but
he would tell you
a
probably
step
that.
below, a whole step below, maybe
No,
just because of consistency and whatnot. But in
That's
all
injury-wise.
honesty, he's a game breaker.
Yeah,
for sure.
we can't compare all these guys. They're not at the same age. They didn't have the
Not
same
as-
career
yeah.
trajectory. I mean, like Animes said, Salah, when he was at Chiesa's age, he was struggling at Fiorentina, but suddenly
Exactly.
he's leading,
Yeah, and that's what
Egypt.
I mean is right now, from where Chiesa is now, I see him easily being with those guys outside of Mbappe and
Yeah, you can't
Vinicius.
put
I
Mbappe
think
in that
is
cover.
is still gonna climb, but we will see. We will see. Now, starting to think we loaned out the wrong youngster in Rovella. Rovella and Fagioli should have been kept. Meretti is too good for the Primavera, but I don't think he's truly ready for this level yet. So we spoke a bit about these youngsters and whatnot. And now, we had this thought earlier on. And the reason wasn't because of Miretti, but the reason was because you brought Paredes in, who ultimately wasn't panning out, is on a high salary, and we pushed away Rovella, and we thought, well, for the future, especially if you do truly see Rovella being part of it, it would have been more beneficial to keep him around. Yeah. So let's just change the question slightly to, do you still stand behind we should have kept Rovella and whatnot? Do you think we kind of missed out there? Do you more so, if you agreed with that point earlier, think that that's the case still, that Rovella should have been kept at Juve?
Hindsight's 2020 here. I think if you go at the beginning of the season, Miretti obviously was doing better than he is now. I think there's the argument that he was, he deserved to stay. But if you look at it now, I definitely would have loaned him out and kept Rovella 100%. But if you're talking about keeping them all and never getting Paredes, I'm okay with that too. So yeah, I think Rovella moving out was not the best call. I think Max wanted Paredes in his lineup, and that clearly hasn't panned out. But yeah, no, 100%, Rovella should have stayed.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, again, now everybody's saying Miretti should have gone out on that loan, when at the start, a lot of us were saying Fagioli's got the minutes at Cremonese, and Rovella had the minutes in Serie A. And was doing good, was putting in good performances. So, yeah, Omer, what do you think?
I don't think you can hear me properly.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, okay. I was against the Paredes coming, Rovella leaving from the get-go, and I haven't changed my mind. I think he should have stayed. We didn't need Paredes. But let's not be prisoners of the moment. Like in August, everyone wanted Miretti to stay because he had a few appearances
Exactly.
the season prior. So these decisions are always a bit of a gamble, and you take the gamble and you roll with it. So we rolled with Miretti, and if he has been performing now, even scoring a goal yesterday, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And so we made the decision. We have to live with it. We didn't sell Rovella. We loaned him, so he is coming back. Paredes is on loan. He is leaving. So one more year of experience, and we will get to see that trio
Can
probably play for Juve.
can we
That's
slide in a quick question on the follow up on that, or do we have to move on out?
We've got time for just a couple storm the
Quick. Okay,
barns.
so
Yeah,
quickly, what did you guys think of Paredes yesterday in that lineup?
thought he was okay. Thought
yeah,
he was okay.
fine.
Yeah, neither
I
bad nor
I have a
good or
problem with
exceptional.
his sprinting back. Whenever he has
Yeah,
to sprint back,
he walks back.
yeah, it's too
That's
slow. And
my
when you
biggest,
see
and I keep pounding on it.
I have a
you see,
problem with the lobbying for calls, especially in the middle of the park.
that's what you get for playing for Paris Saint Germain.
I need guys that are strong, that can fight through, and I don't need him hitting the turf on the slightest of contact looking for a call. Leave the forward business to the forwards and get your head down and work. So that part of his game really bothers me. And to be honest, I'll throw Di Maria into that mix too, because he does it in, again, we talked about, and I'm not saying Chiesa is better than Di Maria. Di Maria's got a work, a body of work that speaks for itself, especially in big games. I find he tends to go down too often
Yeah,
and too much, and will literally stop. And Paredes does the same thing. Okay, you've gone down, it doesn't work. Get your head down, get back in position, fight, and try and get the ball back, which you will see Chiesa do. But Di Maria and Paredes have this thing where they just stop completely and lobby for the call and
it's a
whatnot. It
PSG
drives
thing.
me nuts. It actually pisses me off.
That's why
But
PSG never won a Champions League. That's literally why, because that mentality is just piss poor.
yeah, now Storm the Barn. There's more Storm the Barns coming in. We'll try to get them quick, but
Yeah,
guys, we're running out of time
no,
here.
let's make it quick fire.
Is there enough space in the squad for Kostic, Illing Jr., and Chiesa, who all play their best? No, I don't see it.
It's tough.
I
It
do.
is tough.
I
I
do.
don't see it.
I
How do you play and get all of them in?
But we're in three
No,
competitions. Don't
not
forget, guys.
all together, but the competitions. And I would like to see more of Costi just left back. He was thrown there against
Yeah.
Napoli,
Mhm.
but it takes experience a bit. I don't want to see Sandro there, and Danilo can't always play there.
I'm.
I
No,
believe he can. That's the way I see it.
I don't want
but
to
I
see
might be
Kostic
wrong.
at left back at all. I'm
It's-
kind of like done with. I'm done with trying to turn players into something all the time at Juventus. I'm done.
Good
I'm
point.
done with
Very
that.
good point.
Costa, like for the time being, makeshift. You're in a jam injury wise. I get it, but to try and do it all the time and with so many guys, no. But is there room for all three of them, like just rotating and whatnot? Absolutely. I think
Better
there's
to
room
have,
for all of them to rotate. If that was the question,
It's a
I
good
think
issue
so.
to have. Let's be very honest. Like I'd rather have three good guys who are dependable at the same position than two, because as soon as one goes out, and you're stuck with two for all three competitions. And that third, like Illing, don't forget, he's still a junior. We don't need him there. We don't need him starting every game. He's still a youth
Yeah.
product. He's still 19, 20 years old. So
Yeah.
if one of the guys is if this is like a Coppa game and we don't need to force Kostic or Chiesa, keep Illing
Yeah.
there. And I have full confidence in him. So,
All right.
Quick
Next.
fire.
yeah.
Arash, for 4-3-3, thoughts Illing as left back? I'm going to keep it the same. No as a left back.
No.
Omar, Luca, no.
He's not that.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen enough of him there.
Yeah, he hustles back. He did yesterday, but not a left
Yeah.
back.
What do you feel is needed for this Juve to dominate games more consistently? What needs to be done to achieve this? I don't think the play is to the point where we can't dominate or anything. I just like I don't know. I think honestly, we wouldn't even be having this discussion if more of our opportunities were getting buried,
Yeah.
to be honest. So literally execution for me It's execution. You guys.
I think it's a managerial issue. The way we drop back every time we lose the ball, I want Juve to push higher with the back line and
Press for sure.
Yeah, press.
and stifle that midfield, and then you can control it. When you drop back, the other team control it, and that's what I see most games.
Yeah. Luca, anything to add?
No, you guys hit that on the head.
All right. Now, we've got another one. Paredes, Luca in double pivots with Pogba as Cam. What do you guys think? Yes or no?
I say
no.
if it's going to be a double
I'd
pivot,
put Rabiot there.
yeah, either Rabiot or even Fagioli. Paredes can go sit the bench. Sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't start it, but in a rotation, I'm not against Paredes Luca, but I think I'd rather put Rabiot in the double pivot with Luca. It looked good the few times that we did do it. So,
Exactly.
hey, let's not try and make more work for ourselves. Let's give ourselves a little bit less. One more question with next season around the corner. I think we need a right winger along with others, but what right winger do you see as a perfect fit in our squad? Oh, man.
That's a tough one. There's
I haven't gone over. I haven't even looked at
Omar,
options.
you might
We've
know
only
a few good
when it-
ones.
yeah, when we haven't heard enough names of possibilities or anything. Omer tackles the news really good for us. Omer, what's out there for the winger situation?
There's just nothing. The names that are being discussed are mainly midfielders, fullbacks, and center backs. Like the attack is sort of settled with all the youngsters. It seems like they're banking on them more than actually looking to sign someone.
Yeah.
But also depends, like if there's a managerial change, then a new manager might ask for someone he knows, someone he wants, either Conte, Zidane, whoever comes in. But nothing so far. We know that Di Maria is here until the end of the season. I don't think he will extend. Then you'll have Sule, Iling, Chiesa, and
I still think
Ake
Sule
might
can play
come
that
back.
spot.
I will address this. What about the rumor that Allegri wants Saka? We don't even know that Allegri is going to be here next season. And if you missed the show yesterday, I feel so confident that he won't be here next season that I put 10 kits on the line at the start of next year. So if Allegri is still our coach next season, because I don't see it happening, I'll give 10 kits away at the start.
They signed Nicola Pepe for 80 million.
Do you want Saka though? So George has changed it. Would you
course,
want Saka?
Of course, it'll cost about $200 million euros.
First of all, George, do us all a favor, change that picture, man. It's a tad creepy. Like every time I see it, it's fucking.
The clown.
What Saka? Like an English player in.
Don't mind it. Don't be scared, Luca. Grow up.
Just freaking creepy.
Grow up.
Saka is a phenomenal player. He's England's jewel. He plays for the national team. He's going to win the championship with Arsenal. He won't leave for less than 100 million. We can afford the player for maybe a third of that. So no Saka for you.
Last question to you two. I'm going to bring up. We put a poll on it just because there was so much discussions about it. Yesterday it was reported by L'Equipe that Zidane is first option for Juventus. Conte obviously speaks about coming back to Italy because of his family and whatnot. If it were between just the two, who do you choose and why? We put it to a poll. Do you know what the poll was? Zidane at like 85%. I agreed with it, even though I have concerns about Zidane, and he may not necessarily be the guy for us right now. But for me, it's just all about stop trying to recreate the past and do something fresh and new. What do you guys think, real quick, as we wrap things up?
I was going to say, and I'm going to counter it right away. We thought we knew what we were getting with Allegri, and that's what everyone thinks we're going to get again with Conte. Because of that already that I've bet, like, we're going backwards, like Al said, and I had no faith in, like, I have no faith now that Conte could do what he used to do, because clearly Max has proven that. I just want something new. I know there's more risk with Zizou, that's a given, but at least it's fresh. It's something new, and it's not trying to go back in time. It's that mentality is done with. It hasn't worked. Move on.
Yeah. Omar, quick.
Yeah, I'll just say Conte, we know what we're getting, but curiosity has always been man's. worst and best trait. I am curious to see how Juve would look with Zidane. I know how they'd look with Conte, but curiosity wins here, so I'm Zidane in.
There you go. There you go. Everybody, great show. My God, we had a lot to talk about. And you were going to have a lot to talk about. We got her done.
Super League.
Went well into overtime. Yeah, okay.
Another topic.
So went well into overtime. Live chat, as always. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for all the support, everybody. We try and repay it. We try and take requests and bring you guys what you want for content. Okay, so here it is. You guys, I had a big announcement. I'm going to drop it. Okay, like the video, subscribe to the channel, but
like it.
You guys, we've put out, periodically, who do you want to see on the show and whatnot? Who do you want us to bring in and everything? And this guy has always been up there at the top. He is a busy guy, to say
Probably
the least. And
number one.
He's
Number
yeah.
one when it comes to Juve.
When it comes to
one.
Juve, he's right there at the top because of his body of work and how long he's been doing it. All right. And you guys heavily requested. Finally, we are able to bring you a live show next Friday with Romeo Agresti joining us. Okay. So Romeo Agresti will be coming in live. That is going to be your opportunity to literally fire all questions. Oh, man, ADP.
Michael,
I met him in LA.
That would have been better.
But yeah,
he called us,
very,
but we told him we have a match day live. There's no time.
Too busy that day. Yeah,
I'm still working on the 97 era player, though. By the way, okay, but Romeo Agresti will be joining us. This is going to be all of your opportunities to get all your questions in, not only related to Mercado, but just available to you to ask just about Juve in general. Maybe paint a little bit more picture about the board and what truly went down and everything, how he actually feels. Nobody ever actually asks him, how do you feel about the state of Juve and what's going on? So it's going to be really, really cool to sit down with him, chat, and you guys be able to have that direct access for him. Okay. So next Friday, make sure you're all here for that one. Let's bring him in and welcome to the channel in great form and have as much support and viewership as we can. All right. We're going to put the post out on all our social feeds soon. If you guys can share it, comment on it, let's get it hyped up and welcome Romeo Agresti and show him what the AJC Army is all about. All right. Now, everybody, again, thank you very much. We've got a victory that we covered and everything. Let's take a few days, recover. I'll keep you in touch with the news on daily update videos. And then Sunday, Atalanta. All right. Now, and there you go, guys. Let's AJC. AJC the best. Let's go. Spread the word, okay? Sharing is caring. Let's go. You guys are the best. Luca, Omer, thank you very much. As always.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
And yeah, we'll see you all on the weekend. As always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao tutti.